Hello and good almost afternoon, Texas. And how is everyone today? And thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for this webinar. And our team had a great time in Dallas last month. We hosted a seminar at the Boys and Girls Club, and then we also went to a conference. Hopefully, everyone in the state is staying cool this summer and hopefully you're managing the heat. I know Texas, like it gets pretty hot, and I think last month it was not too hot quite yet, but I know like July, August, it might be a lot more heat. And we're based in San Jose, California. Currently, it's the coolest week that we've had. Like we've actually hit like I think like 96 degrees. So hopefully we can stay in the 70s the next few weeks. All right. And we have so many great organizations today. We're going to wait another minute or so for more people to join. I know I saw a couple of you just join right now. And let me know in the Q&A box what you've ordered for lunch while watching this and what your upcoming summer plans may be. July 4th is going to be next week, so I do plan to swim in the pool with my family and do barbecues. Let's see, someone ordered a salad and someone ordered some barbecue today. And I actually had some Southern food yesterday. Someone ordered a hot dog, Chipotle, seafood. All right. And looks like we had a couple more people join in. And just before we get started, just want to go over some housekeeping. At the end of this presentation, I'll be following up with an email to provide the HRCI and shroom credits. And if you have any questions today, I'll do my best to check that Q&A box and get back to you as soon as possible, as these questions will be saved. And if you want any further information, feel free to respond to that follow-up email. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter and YouTube channel, and I'll have those links at the end. And we're also going to send a recording of the presentation you can share with your colleagues. And today we're going to talk about Texas nonprofits and unemployment. And just wanted to introduce myself quickly. My name is Janessa Ponco. I'm the Senior Member Development Representative here at 501c Services. I've been in sales since 2016, and I've been with 501 since July 2023. And I'm really excited to be part of a company that's been helping nonprofits save time and money that can go towards furthering their mission. And again, we're based in San Jose, California. We're in the heart of the Silicon Valley, and we're dedicated to helping nonprofits reduce unemployment expenses across the nation. And thank you again for joining to learn more about cost-effective strategies and managing unemployment in your state. We're going to provide a broad overview on how unemployment insurance works, alternatives for 501c3 nonprofits when it comes to unemployment, how reimbursing works. Then we're going to use some real life examples of nonprofits we've helped with our cost analysis, and then finally provide more information on our company, 501c Services, and how many of our Texas nonprofits have benefited from our services. And first of all, just wanted to start off with a little history to put unemployment in perspective. Unemployment started in the US during the 1930s following the Great Depression and New Deal, where the federal government wanted to create a safety net for workers who lost their jobs through no fault of their own. And in between 1930 to 1972, 501c3 organizations didn't pay into unemployment benefits for separated employees. Although this saved them money from paying such taxes, employees that were laid off couldn't reap the benefits of that safety net that for-profit companies had provided. And now, fast forward to 1972, the federal government changed the law under the Social Security Act where nonprofits must pay into unemployment, but they were given different options in how they pay so that tax wouldn't be seen as an unnecessary expense for them. And unemployment is overseen on the federal level. However, each state gets to manage their own programs however they choose. So throughout the US, you'll see different taxable wages, tax rates, and benefit amounts. But today we're just going to cover information here in the state of Texas. When it comes to management, unemployment rates can be adjusted annually and are adjusted by experience. So let's say if you have a year or two of bad claims, your tax rate will increase. And then most states, including Texas, run as a risk pool. So if you're paying into SUI, you're paying taxes to access a pool of funds to cover your claims. And we are seeing a lot of nonprofits put more money into that pool than what they're actually getting out of it. And then the total tax liabilities by employers, they're often greater than the claims paid with reserves used in times of recession. And in order to calculate your tax liability, you multiply your taxable wage base by your employer tax rate. And now we'll do a little quiz. Take a guess on what a single claim can cost in Texas this year. And feel free to put some guesses in the Q&A box. All right, I'm seeing 12,000, 14,300, 13,700, 9,000. And just as a hint, the total cost is looking at the weekly benefit maximum multiplied by the maximum number of weeks someone can claim. All right, and I see 10,000, 11,000, 6,500. All right, and I see one more guess, 13,900. So the maximum amount of what a single person can claim in unemployment in the state of Texas can cost $15,730. And so the maximum weekly benefit in Texas is currently $605. And when we multiply that number by 26, which is the maximum number of weeks someone can claim in Texas, is how we get that $15,730 for the maximum of what a single person can claim on unemployment. And then the federal government sets the taxable wage base at a minimum of $7,000, and there's no maximum. And Texas taxable wage base is currently set at $9,000. So that means for the first $9,000 an employee earns, your organization gets taxed on that. So the majority of employers in Texas may pay their taxes in the first quarter, but you might see taxes paid after the first quarter. They might be for like seasonal employees, new hires, or employees making less than that $9,000. And then the minimum tax rate is set at 0.32%. The max tax rate is set at 6.32%, and those are both set by the state. And then there's also a training and replenishment rate that's added onto your experience, and you'll see that in a tax rate notice sample in the next few slides. And the last thing I want to note is the improper payment rate, which is at 8.26%. And this equates to over $501 million in overpays to former employees who are collecting unemployment. And this is information that we get from the Department of Labor. You can see Texas is one of the many states that's lower than 10%. Although this error rate may seem low, this is money that could have gone back to organizations had they audited more accurately. And this is important to note as we really encourage you to look over your claims and make sure that you're not overpaying for anybody's claims. And here at 501c Services, we help organizations monitor this. But if you are managing on your own, you want to make sure that you're properly charged for a former employee's weekly benefit amount. And there are three different alternatives for unemployment. One is that you pay that state tax that we mentioned earlier with the tax rate that's set by the state in taxable wages. And then there's another option where you can self-insure, reimburse for your unemployment, where you're just paying dollar per dollar for your unemployment claims. So you're basically only paying for the benefits issued. And then the last option is kind of a hybrid of both, where you buy insurance that offers the savings of reimbursing while also providing that safety net. And just to let you know, the qualifications that we look for when you're considering reimbursing is that an organization must be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And then we recommend a gross annual payroll of $1 million or more, because typically if your payroll is under 1 million, especially significantly less than that amount, what you're paying into the state tax pool is probably pretty minimal, and you might not see much significant savings by opting out. However, there are some cases where you could see savings. So we're happy to look at your numbers, even if you're just slightly less than 1 million. And then we also look at a positive audit from the past 3 years. So that means in order for reimbursing to benefit you, we try to see if what you paid each year in taxes is exceeding what you're paying in actual claims. And then we want to make sure that there isn't any major disruptions in funding for the next 24 months. So we do recommend to stay with the state tax system if you know if you might have anything from impending layoffs, reduction in workforce, losing funds, or closing programs where your tax rates may go up with experience. And then you'll probably want to wait once those claims decrease. And what it means to reimburse is that your tax rate turns to 0%, and then the state will bill you only for the unemployment claims you receive over the quarter. It's a great way for nonprofits to save money and be a better steward of donor dollars. And the process is seamless for separated employees. No matter how your employees separated, they're still going to go through the same process as your unemployment department, which is the Texas Workforce Commission, where the state will determine their benefit amount based on their base period pay. And then the only change is how that quarterly bill is calculated. So instead of paying that state unemployment insurance tax, you're now only responsible for charges your organization incurs. And we work with over 1,500 nonprofits across the nation, and we have several in the state of Texas. So you're probably wondering what motivates them to reimburse. In most cases, reimbursing saves money. On average, savings can be anywhere from 20 to 40% compared to paying into the state tax system. And this is really the driver for most organizations to switch. Reimbursing also eliminates any concern of changes in that state tax, such as tax hikes that you can't control. You become a better steward of donor dollars as you're just paying for your actual claims and putting money into a state pool. Because unemployment is managed by the federal government, big picture, reimbursing is allowed in all 50 states. It's best with employers with over $1 million in gross annual payroll and at least 15 or more full-time employees. And if you're on the borderline of that, we can certainly talk, as sometimes there may be circumstances where you can consider reimbursing for your organization. And if you're smaller and reimbursing already, we can still consider you for our services and how we can help you reduce your risk. There are a couple different strategies for reimbursing, and the first is to manage your own program. This can be a little risky with the highs and lows of unemployment, and you really need to make sure that you have budget for these claims. Make sure that your team is diligent with managing, auditing, protesting, and paying claims to reduce risk and prevent overpaying. And then another option is to outsource, like using 501(c) services to help with the administrative work and managing the challenges that can come with unemployment claims. And then we also have a trust where you can put money aside. And then the third option is to purchase insurance. Here at 501(c) Services, we do offer insurance programs. They are a little bit more expensive than the trust and offer different levels of protection. And now we'll get into some examples. And I do want to talk about how SUI is calculated, and we'll also get into some assessments in the next few slides. The taxable wage base is customized by each state, and currently Texas's taxable wage base is at $9,000. All employers in the state pay the same taxable wage base. It represents that first $9,000 of an employee's annual pay, and there's no maximum, and it can increase or decrease by any amount each year. The tax rate is set annually by the state and is based on experience. To calculate your contribution amount, you're going to multiply that taxable wage base by the tax rate. So for Texas, it's that $9,000 times the tax rate range of 0.32% to 6.32%. This amount means that if each employee makes over $9,000, a company is paying in between 28.8 to $568.8 $100 per employee in unemployment. Apologize, I have a little bit of allergies. Here is a sample of your Texas tax rate notice, and it gives us almost all the information we need to do a free cost analysis for your organization. And for the first row, it is called the chargebacks. It indicates your last 3 years of claims. And then the tax wages row represents your last 3 years of taxable payroll. And then your tax rate is provided at the bottom as the effective tax rate. And there's sometimes factors that are out of your control. For an example, no matter how well you're managing your taxes, there may be things added to your experience, such as that training and replenishment tax rate on this form. Don't worry, our team will help you with that heavy lifting. And once you send over this tax rate notice, we can start the analysis. And then here we have our next two examples. It includes nonprofits we work with that included having large overpayments, and then they eventually transitioned into reimbursing and joined our trust. So here's our first example of a human services nonprofit. The taxable payroll is just shy of $1 million, tax rate 4.7%, estimated annual claims around $200 per year. And typically for our cost assessments, we look at a 3-year average of claims. So they were overpaying $45,000 a year. And think of what you can do with an additional $45,000 for your organization. Our second example, the taxable payroll is around $700,000, tax rate 3.38%, estimated annual claims around $5,900, estimated unemployment taxes were around $24,000, so they were overpaying $18,000. And a little bit more about 501c services. We were founded in 1982 by a former UCP executive. He was looking at ways to save money for his organization, so he came up with the idea of starting a trust. He teamed up with 25 nonprofit executive members in San Jose, California, to create the first kind of grantor trust called the Joint Unemployment Compensation Trust. It eventually became what is now known as 501c Services, and then our trust is called 501c Agencies Trust. And we've now grown to helping over 3,000 nonprofits in various ways. And then in 2016, the founder sold the company back to his employees. So we're now 100% employee owned. From our office manager to the CEO, every member is committed to our company and serving our members. And our services are valued tremendously, with our company having over a 98% retention rate. And here are a couple of testimonials our members have shared, and you can go back to these later as I'll send the slides after the presentation. And here we have a clip from our 40th anniversary celebration a few years ago. It includes testimonials from Anika Lund and Mike Hoffman from Start Early, Mary Sue and Michael Eady from CISC, Sandy Leota and Chris Marshall from Baltimore Center Stage, and Phyllis Austin and Jason Penniger from Boys and Girls Club of America.
What makes me passionate about working for a non-for-profit organization is because I knew I always wanted to work for a mission-driven organization.
Our mission is to work with immigrant communities so that they can achieve the American dream.
501 helps focus our service to the community by giving us more time.
501 helps us focus on serving our communities by providing services directly to our HR professionals.
The biggest benefit for working with 501 is really the transparency and ability to forecast our costs when it comes to our unemployment benefits.
They also keep our cash flow steady through claims that are sound and take a lot of the admin burden off of us so we can just stay on autopilot.
We're very grateful for all the support you provided over the last 4 decades, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Congratulations, 501, on your 40th anniversary. It's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 24 years.
And like I said earlier, we work with several Texas nonprofits, and here's a quick snapshot of some of these members in the state. And as you heard them say in the clip, we help nonprofits alleviate the administrative burdens that can come with managing unemployment. And the first way we help nonprofits is through claims management. Our team will help you manage, audit, and protest claims. So if you ever need to protest a claim, we offer unlimited access to hearing reps, and our team has an 80% average protest win rate across the nation. And you'll get a dedicated claims manager once you become a member of our trust. And all of your claims will go through this online portal where you get notified that a claim has been filed. So once you go into the portal, you can respond to the questions on the claim. If you ever have to go on PTO or forget to delegate these kinds of unemployment tasks, it shouldn't be an issue for when a claim doesn't get responded to in several days. It gets escalated and handled. A big part of our claims management is that our team doesn't want to see your organization overpay or get hit by those Texas error rates. So we can help you audit those charges for you or prevent you from paying a claim if someone gets terminated. We want to make sure that you're on top of these claims and also have enough support to do so. And our HR services include 3 components. We offer unlimited access to HR consultations. We're a small, dedicated team that can answer any of your HR-related questions. So if you have an ongoing issue, you can develop rapport with the person who will support you and manage any of those HR questions. And our HR services have trainings throughout the year that are HRCI and SHROOM certified. And there's also an online knowledge library with our HR services. And with these 605 maximum weekly benefits here in the state of Texas, our goal is to help you keep that cost as low as possible. So if you ever lay someone off, we have our reemployment tool. It offers packages that can range from online coaching, interview techniques, and resume writing. It's never fun to let someone go, but at least you can give them the safety net and resources to help them secure a new job faster, which in return can help your organization save more money. And then the protection is the insurance part of our program. Most of our members take our stop loss protection that helps them during catastrophic claims. And other than catastrophic claims, for managing the general highs and lows of unemployment, we have the trust account. And this is a reserve account held in the trust owned by your organization where we can help you save and pay for potential claims. So I hope this sparked your interest, and maybe some of you may want to manage your unemployment through us as a reimbursing employer. And if you wanted to look into potential savings, what I would need from you is your 941s or estimated payroll from 2024 to 2025 as a reimburser. And if you're paying into the state tax system, we would need a copy of that recent 2026 tax rate notice. And I did see a few questions and wanted to just get into going over them. And let's see. So how do I know if I'm reimbursing? So you'll know if you're reimbursing if you do not have a tax rate and you don't receive a tax rate notice. And then the Texas Workforce Commission will bill your organization for the actual cost of your claims instead of a state tax, like a state unemployment insurance tax. Let's see. This person says, what if I'm in a PEO? So if you're still managing your unemployment, you would still be eligible for your services. In most cases, the PEO has their own services for unemployment claims management. So typically we can't work with PEOs, but if you decide to leave that PEO, we can certainly talk and see how we can help. See, how do I figure out what my actual unemployment claims are? So an invoice for your claims will get sent through the Texas Workforce Commission. And if you're paying the state tax system, providing your tax rate notice for the cost analysis will help our team determine how much you're paying in actual claims versus what you're paying in taxes currently. And the last one, I'm reimbursing, but the claims cost has gone up. How do I reduce my cost? And should I go back to the state tax system? So what we can do is we recommend getting a cost analysis with us. We can determine what would be the best option for managing your unemployment. and to have an analysis to see if you should go back to paying the state tax system, we would likely need your organization's total number of employees so we can estimate the taxable payroll and claims history. And then many states also provide that new employer tax rate that we'll use to calculate the state tax. All right. I think that was all the questions that we have so far. If you're still typing in the Q&A box, I will stay on for another minute or so. And if you have any questions, this is my contact information. You will get a follow-up email from me in the next few hours. I'll include the HRCI and SHRM credits, a copy of the slides from today, and also you're going to get a recording in the next few hours. And thank you so much for watching this webinar, and hope everyone has a great week. And if you want more information, this is our YouTube channel and also our newsletter if you want to sign up for any updates. Thank you so much and have a great day.